The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Good evening. This is
Avi Bernard.
very happy I am to be back in the United States and back on the network, even for so short a visit as this one. A lot of people asked us to do it again, so it's gratifying to get the chance now. Personally, I've never met anybody who didn't like
KBLA Talk 1580.
but it seems I do have a reputation for the uncanny. I'm an overpaid producer with pleasant reasons to rejoice, and I do. But surely my right to having more than enough is canceled if I don't use that more to help those who have less. We must each day earn what we own. A healthy man owes to the sick all that he can do for them. An educated man owes to the ignorant all that he can do for them. A free man owes to the world's slaves all that he can do for them. If we can't die in behalf of progress, we can live for it. If we waste that gift, we won't have anywhere to hide from the indignation of history.
This is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time with Avi Bernard.
We did it, Joe.
The dawn is hours before. We knew it. Somehow we do it.
The cry for racial justice, some 400 years in the making, moves us. The dream of justice for all will be deferred no longer.
And neither will Areva Martin Real Time. Welcome to the Friday edition. Let's get you caught up. The funeral of Alexei Navalny today almost did not happen at all, but thousands ultimately turned out, braving the snow, heavy security, and weeks of Kremlin efforts to derail the event so that they could pay their respects to the man who challenged Vladimir Putin with a vision for a democratic Russia. Bearing flowers, candles, and placards, the crowd chanted Navalny's name as his body was first delivered to a church in southern Moscow for a brief funeral and then to a nearby cemetery. There were also riskier words uttered in a country where the government crushes even modest displays of dissent. Russia without Putin, Russia will be free, and even Putin is a murderer were all audible cries from the crowd. President Joe Biden announced today that the U.S. will drop food aid into the Gaza Strip, noting that the humanitarian aid flowing into the region for Palestinians is not nearly enough. Biden said we're going to pull out every stop we can. Biden also reiterated that the U.S. is trying to push for an immediate ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in order to allow more aid into Gaza. A New York man who was convicted of killing a 20-year-old woman after she and other young people mistakenly pulled into the driveway of his home was sentenced today to 25 years to life. Kevin Monahan was convicted in January of second-degree murder in the April 15 death of Kaylin Gillis, whom he fatally shot after the car she was traveling in pulled into his driveway in rural New York State, about 40 miles north of Albany, as they were looking for a party. The group was lost and in an area of New York that did not have cell service. A pastor in North Carolina has apologized for remarks he made during a sermon where he said women's clothing choices were responsible for sexual assault. During a sermon recorded last August that recently went viral, the Reverend Bobby Leonard of Bible Baptist Tabernacle in Monroe, North Carolina, said that if he were serving on the jury for a rape trial, he would acquit a male rapist if his female victim were wearing shorts during the assault. The pastor, or the reverend rather, said, quote, "If you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free." Direct quote. Donald Trump floated the possible support for a 15-week limit on abortion in a Fox News interview last night. Although Trump's campaign wouldn't elaborate on his plans, Trump, who is coasting to the GOP presidential nomination, has been consistently cautious about advocating for any specific abortion policy during his campaign. But during an interview on Fox at the southern border, he said he's heard a lot about a post-15-week ban. Trump said largely they're coming in with a certain number of weeks, and the number 15 is mentioned. I haven't agreed to any number. I'm going to see. We want to take an issue that was very polarizing and get it settled and solved so everybody could be happy. Yeah, I'm sure it's a simple solution to making everybody happy about abortion. Both President Joe Biden and Donald Trump visited the southern border yesterday in a dramatic split-screen moment as the 2024 presidential campaign ramps up over immigration, which has confounded administrations of both parties for decades. Biden made a direct appeal to Trump, asking him to join him in telling Congress to pass the bill, which was tanked after Trump rallied his allies in Congress against it. Coming up this hour, we're going to be talking to Christopher Walton, the former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County, about all of these topics, and also going to see if we have time to get Chris's take on the recent action in Wisconsin, his home state, of the governor there, Tony Evers, signing in some congressional maps that are not gerrymandered. It looks like in Wisconsin, the Republican control of them getting more seats than votes they received. So, for example, Democrats in Wisconsin in past election cycles have received 54% of the vote, and they'll still only get about a third of the seats. That's how badly it's been gerrymandered there, and that's finally going to change. We'll see if we can talk to our contributor about that. And we'll get to it right away when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. 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 If we care enough.
It's never been faster or easier to be a voter. Look for your vote by mail ballot in the mail. Fill it in and drop it off at a mailbox on your way to work, on your daily walk, or when dropping the kids off at school. Save time and vote early. Make a plan to vote at plan.lavote.gov. That's plan.lavote.gov. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Don't shave with that, son. You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops. I'm good with Gillette's Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard anyway? You know Mama hates it.
Yeah, had it since my last wet shave in 77. Got ingrown so bad, looked like I was growing a patch of new noses.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturize, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
Helping to broaden your political and moral imagination with our 2024 climate justice campaign. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. That would be 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. and appreciate you joining us, whether you're listening on 1580 AM here in Los Angeles or the free KBLA app, or you're listening to and watching us on YouTube. That's right, you can watch us on YouTube. And KBLA Talk 1580 has released groundbreaking results from a survey about environmental issues and the impacts of pollution and climate change on our community. The poll provides unique insights into Black voter sentiment and preferences on key environmental and social justice issues. The results highlight that there is a direct connection between environmental justice, social justice, and civil rights. Equally important, respondents overwhelmingly believe that pollution, climate change, and other forms of environmental harm impact Black, Latino, and low-income communities more than white, Asian, wealthy, and coastal communities. To learn more about this survey and our historic year-long climate justice campaign, go to our KBLA 1580 website right now at KBLA Talk 1580. We care about the community, and we care about the climate. I hope you do too. So let's get to the conversation. Let's bring on Christopher Walton, former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County, currently in one of the most dangerous places in the world, I believe, Alabama. Chris, thanks for joining us from the road. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, with
Good
all of the craziness happening around the world, in Ukraine and in Israel, Alabama still has to be up there with the most dangerous places for Black people. I'm not saying it's more dangerous than Gaza or Ukraine right now. I'm just saying you always got to watch your back in Alabama, no matter what, if you're Black.
Look, this is, and you know, it's really interesting. Alabama is actually one of the blackest states in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But the system and the systems that are in place here in the state of Alabama in regards to reproductive freedom, in regards to voting rights, which is why I'm here this weekend. You know, it's atrocious. You know, we just had remember the battle of Montgomery last year, where we had to raise up our chairs and fight back.
Yeah, the riverboat brawl. Yeah.
So you know, it's Alabama. It's different. It's not black and white like we've always seen it, but it is definitely still Alabama.
Alabama's going to Alabama, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's get to some of the things happening today, though, Chris. That I'm really grateful to have you here to discuss. Starting with the funeral of Alexei Navalny. You know, it's hard in Russia to say anything that is considered a rebuke of Vladimir Putin, because even you can't even, they don't have free speech there. They don't have the First Amendment there. They don't have protections for that kind of thing. So when Alexei Navalny died, when he was murdered by Vladimir Putin, people were kind of popping up these impromptu vigils, and they were getting arrested for it, just for putting flowers and candles down for somebody who they admired. They were getting arrested for that. So it can't be overstated how brave it is just to go to this man's funeral in Russia. And it was a massive turnout. A lot of people showed up, and not only were they chanting Navalny's name, but they were chanting things like Russia without Putin. They were chanting things like Russia will be free, and even things like Putin is a murderer. So it's really just remarkable to see that, given how aggressively Vladimir Putin and his government, I guess we can use the word government in quotations, but how aggressively they clamp down on any kind of dissent. But what are your thoughts about what we saw at the funeral of Alexei Navalny today?
You know, it was tragedy what happened with Alexei Navalny, and we have to remember him like many of the martyrs who died for the right to vote, you know, on Earth. That everybody should be able to be freely able to express how they want their government to be run. And, you know, it's really interesting that so many people who say they love America and love American values and support democracy are lining up to help Vladimir Putin continue his murderous rampage, being an autocrat in Russia and attempting to conquer other nations. But, you know, you're never going to catch me not attacking the Republicans for being wrong.
Yeah, and we shouldn't catch you not attacking the Republicans for being wrong. And it is, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's always worth mentioning how absolutely wild it is that Republicans support Vladimir Putin. And not all of them do, but a lot of them do now. And that would have been unheard of like 5 years ago. And it seems like Donald Trump has, on his own, completely changed the Republican Party in that a lot of them are pro-Putin, and that means being anti-democracy, because you can't do those kind of things here in America. You can't, if you're Joe Biden or Donald Trump or whoever the president is, you can't have someone arrested for laying down some flowers for somebody who died. You can't do that, and that's what Putin does, and Republicans are supporting that. When you support someone who does that, then you're supporting that act. And so it's always worth mentioning, calling out their hypocrisy. We got to call it out at every turn. And so, speaking, I'm gonna pivot here a little bit because we will get back to some more discussion about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. But I really want to talk about this North Carolina pastor. He said, and it is just. It is so crazy that someone could say this, that anybody could say this, let alone a pastor, during a sermon that is being taped. This is not something that I would expect to hear from someone talking to me on the street. This dude, let's let him say it himself. Andy, let's hear it.
More women go in those places with shorts than you will women with pants and dresses put together. I said, if you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free.
This man said, oh, is there more? Oh, okay. This man said, if I'm on the jury and someone's been accused of being raped, but the woman who was assaulted was wearing shorts during that rape, I am going to vote to acquit that man. So, and you heard briefly, he was kind of wrapping up another sentence as the clip started about him saying that women wear more shorts now than they do dresses and pants combined. Wow. So, other than giving us a creepy insight into his mind about what happens when women wear shorts, this is just, it's unimaginable that this man would keep his job. He has since apologized, but the fact that he would even say this, and later on in that speech, he went on to say, I'm right, because a man's a man. A man's a man. So a man is incapable of controlling his impulses if a woman has on a garments that he finds attractive. What's the cutoff for these short sizes? Is it mid thigh? Is it below the knees? What if she has on some basketball shorts? I mean, men find dresses and pants sexy too. Maybe they should be excused for that when they rape a woman who has on some tight pants. I mean, why stop there? Why not just make rape legal? Chris, I'm gonna bring you in here, man. I'm almost at a loss for words here.
Well, I think the going rule is generally at least the knee. If it's above the knee, then you're free.
Oh, above the knee, you're free. Okay.
It's insanity. That man, he should not be a pastor. He shouldn't be anybody's religious representative to God. Like, how can you even justify that? That is pure foolishness. What is wrong with you? Have you no shame? Have you no decency to even believe that is acceptable? Like, that's insane. And you say this proudly. You say this with your whole chest. What's wrong with you? Paul needs to be put off the stand at this point.
Not Paul. Yeah, no, that's and he is a white pastor. I will just clarify that for anyone who is curious. And I'm not sure if that would be surprising or not, but I mean, I don't understand how someone can even think that. So, but it's obviously an old way of seeing things. He's a very old man. It's an old way of seeing things, but even that old way is stupid. Like, it was never smart to say that. It never made sense to say that. I mean, I think the dude was like in his 80s or something, but I don't care. I don't care how old you are, man. And if you want to get involved in this conversation, of course, you can give us a call at 800-920-1580. That's 800-920-1580. If you have a question or comment, love to hear your thoughts as well. But it is wild that this man said, if a woman's wearing shorts, rape is okay. That's it. Anything else on this before we move on, Chris?
I just can't believe that. I can't believe that they're allowing him to still even. Is he gonna be there this Sunday? Like, wow! Like, oh my God! Please let this not be. He shouldn't be up there again this Sunday. He should never be on a pulpit again.
Yeah, I mean, and people may want to talk about cancel culture or whatever if he ends up losing his job, but sometimes people don't need to be in the position they're in, and sometimes a comment they make can highlight that fact.
Right.
Sometimes it's not just, you can't just chalk everything up to cancel culture. If someone gets fired for cause, if someone loses their position because of something dumb that they said or did.
Exactly.
I mean, and this is a religious leader. I mean, a lot of people are going to hang on his every word. He has the power to persuade people, to change people's opinions. And so, yeah, I just saw this and I was highly offended. I can't imagine how the ladies feel, but just, North Carolina pastor, Reverend Bobby Leonard. And then he put his apology on the outside of the church. You know, they have like the sign outside the church and they put the letters up there. And he said, I'm sorry for any hurt. I was wrong, Reverend Leonard. And that's it. All right. Speaking of rapists getting rights, Donald Trump floated possible support for a 15-week limit on abortion in a Fox News interview last night. And when I say rapists getting rights, I mean when you ban abortion, you are giving rapists more rights than their victims, because you're preventing their victims from being able to have an abortion if they are raped. And so even though people try to say, okay, well, yeah, I am in favor of exceptions for rape and incest, or when the mother's life is in danger, that we found in that Texas case that that's not always what happens, because there was a very high-profile situation there when a white woman wanted to have a baby. She already had children, and she wanted to have another one, and it came out that the baby had a rare disorder, and the baby's life was in danger, and so was hers. And so in Texas now, you can't have an abortion. And so she tried to, petition the Supreme Court. Well, hey, we can't have an abortion, but if the woman's life is in danger, you can. My life is in danger, so can I get that abortion? And the Supreme Court was like, nah, you still can't. So when they say, well, yeah, there's an abortion ban, but there's exceptions, and this is why it's so important that no abortion ban is acceptable. But Donald Trump has tried to make it seem like he's not as crazy on this issue, even though he appointed the Supreme Court justices who ended Roe versus Wade, and he's been proud about that. But how should Democrats highlight this, Chris? That Trump is he may try to act like he's not as pro life or as anti-abortion, but he really is. What should Democrats do to highlight that?
We need to be screaming this from the rooftops. Speaking of Alabama, for example, when the state Supreme Court here in Alabama literally stood up and said that you couldn't have IVF, Republicans at the national level all decided they wanted to change roads and begin to say, no, you can have IVF. These problems are started by you. You created this issue. We need to make sure that everybody knows they are going to put a national ban on abortion, even though their Supreme Court said that the state should be able to decide. Per usual, Republicans are hypocrites. They want you to lose your rights. They don't believe you have the right to reproductive freedom. They want to take your rights away. Full stop. So what do? This November, we go out there and make sure that they do not get power. We go out there and vote, and we hold them responsible for their poor decisions and policy making. We cannot allow them to take our reproductive freedoms. They've already taken enough. Most of the black people in this nation do not have access to reproductive freedom. Here in Alabama, in Mississippi, over in Texas, across Georgia, this is the problem. This is the absolute problem, and people are going to die because of these issues. But if we don't stand up and make this an issue and let people know we demand our reproductive freedom, this is where they're going to stop. First, it was the right to have an abortion. Now they're going after IVF. The next stop is they want to ban contraceptives. So now they're banning condoms. They're banning birth control. Like, at what point do we all stand up and say no?
Yeah, that point should be now, because you're absolutely right. They do want to go after contraception, because in their twisted minds, even someone having sex means that sperm is a baby. And so if you're catching it in a condom, then that's a form of abortion. It's so crazy how far they go. And so we gotta make it clear that if you are voting for Donald Trump, or you're voting for any congressional Republican or senator, you are voting for a national abortion ban. Even if Trump says 15 weeks, if the Senate and Congress put a 6-week abortion ban on his desk, if there's a Republican Senate majority and Republican House majority, and they send a 6-week ban to Trump if he's president, he will sign that. I promise you he will sign that. When we come forward, we'll get more into this discussion, and also we will bring you what's in the white entitlements right after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Baltimore, Maryland is using federal COVID relief funds to create a fellowship program with Baltimore's 2 historically black colleges and universities. Mayor Brandon Scott joined the presidents of Copen State and Morgan State universities on Thursday to outline the initiative to create a pipeline for HBCU grads to enter public service careers in local government. Participants will also receive a one-time housing transition stipend of $1,000 and a transportation stipend of up to $500. The fellows will be placed in various city agencies, including the Department of Health, Finance, Housing, and Transportation. The program is expected to begin in September. A woman has made history as becoming the first black female fire captain in the history of the St. Paul, Minneapolis Fire Department. Captain Brittany Baker was promoted to the position of captain last week. In 2018, she was the only second black woman to be hired as a St. Paul firefighter. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Your evening drive through Pomona's 10 East between Highway 71 and County Line Road remains over an hour and a half. In Glendale's 134 East, after Highway 2, Harvey Drive interchange, watch for a stall blocking 2 right lanes with a 20-minute backup running heavy from Forest Lawn Drive. A SIG alert has been issued in Harbor Gateway as an overturned Big Rick accident remains having the left turn lane closed until further notice on West Artesia Boulevard, westbound to South Vermont Avenue. And on the 60 East and Diamond Bar between Phillips Ranch Road and Pedley, watch for heavy traffic over an hour.
Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave 4, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, or medium hot coffee. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC's women's basketball team found out they can win without superstar Juju Watkins. Watkins fouled out with 2 minutes left in regulation in Thursday's game at Arizona. The 7th-ranked Trojans hung on to beat Arizona by 2 in double overtime. This was only the 3rd time this season that a player other than Watkins led USC in scoring. Center Rhea Marshall led the Trojans with 26 points and 11 rebounds. Watkins finished with 20 points. Final regular season game for the Trojans is Saturday morning at Arizona State. The women's Pac-12 tournament tips off Tuesday in Vegas. March 1st is the beginning of Women's History Month. A salute to Sandra Douglas Morgan, the first African-American woman to become president of an NFL franchise. Morgan was hired by the Las Vegas Raiders in 2022. She oversees all of the Raiders' business and marketing operations. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Politics has become so messy lately, it's hard to find a reason to be hopeful. Hi, my name is Shakira. I'd like to tell you why Adam Schiff gives me hope. My parents raised me to take my right to vote seriously, so I try to stay on top of what's going on. I saw Adam Schiff lead the impeachment and insurrection hearings. He seemed like someone I could believe in. Then I actually met him at the MLK parade in South Central LA this year. Adam listened. He cared. I got to see who he is. He understands the struggle we have with the cost of living, all the parents working extra shifts and taking second jobs to get by. He gets a threat to our democracy and our freedoms. Adam Schiff knows how tough things really are for a lot of us, and I believe he's going to do something about it. It gives me hope, but hope isn't enough. We need to vote for Adam Schiff for Senate.
I'm Adam Schiff, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Schiff for Senate.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness. From my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition. Avi Bernard with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Let's bring back Christopher Walton, former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County. All right, Chris, let's talk about the situation in Gaza. So President Joe Biden announced today that the U.S. will drop food aid into the Gaza Strip, noting that the humanitarian aid flowing into the region for Palestinians is not nearly enough. Biden said, quote, "We're going to pull out every stop we can." So what do you, not just of this decision, Chris, but there are growing calls from many, in the Democratic Party, who think that Biden should do more to call out Benjamin Netanyahu. And I want to make it clear, like this, you can support Israel and still call out the government of that country for doing what is. I mean, it's hard to call it anything other than just slaughtering citizens. And I mean, you had in a situation this week where citizens were lining up. I mean, Gaza civilians were lining up for food, for aid, and 100 of them were killed. So what should, I mean, from a Democratic strategist perspective, what do you think the best politics are for Joe Biden to do? Obviously, I believe the right thing to do is to call on Netanyahu to stop what he's doing, to stop the offensive. I mean, Israel has actually murdered more hostages than they've saved. They say this is, partially about hostages, but they're killing their own hostages because they're so reckless and just killing everybody. So, but what's your take on the best way for Biden to go about this? Should he do nothing? Should he? Obviously, he's pushing for a ceasefire, and we saw that in the Michigan primary this past week. A lot of people, 13% of people who voted in the Democratic primary voted uncommitted, and that was there was a campaign from people who were upset, who are from Democrats largely, who are upset at Joe Biden over the Gaza situation. They mounted a campaign to vote uncommitted in the primary there in Michigan, and so just all of this happening. Obviously, Michigan's a state we can't afford to lose, and Michigan is just part of the issue. There are people around the country who feel that, and I'm not blaming Biden for this. I want to make it clear, I'm not. And I mean, it's a really tough situation to be in, but I just want to get your perspective on what he should do.
Right. And I don't know how any of us honestly blame him for the situation when it all comes down to it. This is Netanyahu's fault.
Mm-hmm.
He allowed this situation to go unchecked. He had the intelligence that this was about to happen, and yet he did nothing. The problem that we're running into, and I'm glad that the president has recently authorized these food drops in Gaza. I think that's very good for him. Very good for him to do. I don't know what they're really telling him that he needs to do. Because honestly, when it comes down to it, whatever he says, he's not going to do it. He's the sovereign leader of a sovereign state by himself. It'd be like if somebody else, like if Putin called on Biden to resign. Okay, well, thank you for your call. But what we have to do here is really begin to really turn the screws on this whole situation. We cannot allow them to continue to jeopardize democracy. This event that just happened, people were killed. 100 people killed in line to get food for their families. That's unacceptable. Recently, the Democratic Party in Milwaukee County had the opportunity to vote on the resolution, and we voted to call for a ceasefire. Mind you, we're in the Democratic Party in Milwaukee County. What does that really mean? The president calls for a ceasefire. What does that really mean? You can't make it happen. This is an art war. And both sides have to agree to it. We can't just call for a ceasefire and then one side say, okay, we're going to stop, and another one's like, no, we're going to continue. But this situation has to stop. It absolutely has to.
So I hear your point on Benjamin Netanyahu being a sovereign leader, and it wouldn't be any different from, Vladimir Putin calling Joe Biden and telling him what he needs to do. But it is different, though, because we do have leverage over Israel because we provide them with a lot of aid. And that aid is largely, if not completely, unconditional. And if we even put some conditions on that aid, they would have no choice but to listen to what we say that they could do differently in that conflict. So I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what the best thing to do is, but I feel like, and it's hard because Republicans in Congress won't let Joe Biden put any conditions on aid if he wanted to. So that's not an option for him to do unilaterally.
That's a whole other thing right there with that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other idea.
And so, but even though he can't do that on his own, I think if it was me, I mean, I feel like he could publicly come out and say, look, Netanyahu's wrong. I call on him to stop, but I haven't heard him go that far. And Netanyahu is someone who has screwed over Democratic presidents constantly. He is a right-wing dude. He's been very open about his preference for Donald Trump and Republican presidents. And I don't think there's anything there would be anything wrong with Joe Biden saying, yo, man, I don't support this. I don't agree with what's happening. I think Netanyahu's wrong. I think his government is wrong. And I think that would kind of score him a lot of points just right there, just being willing to go that far, don't you think?
I agree, and I think he should. I know myself personally, whatever power my Twitter handle has, I definitely think he should. Netanyahu needs to go, let alone ceasefire. He needs to go. He has constantly been a thorn in the side of every Democratic president in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's beyond time. He needs to go. The Israeli government needs somebody who is actually willing to be a leader. But we also need to support president in really making sure that we have the government that's possible we can get there. We know Israel is not going to be supportive under this government's leadership of a two-state solution.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay. President Biden has been supportive of a two-state solution. President Obama was supportive of a two-state solution. Hell, President Bush was supportive of a two-state solution. Like, this has been a bedrock policy of the United States government going back decades. We've been working, even going back to Nixon. We've been working on this since then, trying to get a two-state solution. And this man is saying, no, there can be no two states. There should be an Israel and there should be a Palestine sitting right next to each other in the Middle East. That's just a hard stop fact. We have to work on that and make that possible.
Yep. And you know, if I understand people being upset at Biden because, you know, he could be doing a little bit more, but I just always want to underscore that if this were Trump, you would not get any of this. It would be
a lot less.
People on the Republican side have openly called for killing everyone in Gaza. They say level the whole place. They don't even talk about the people of Gaza as if they are people. So I totally get it. You know, we want the best situation for those people, but let's just remember that while Democrats they care about the issue and they are trying to figure out a way, Republicans do not care about that issue. They support Israel unconditionally. What's that?
We got to look at the nuances of it too. It's not it is a simple. It looks simple, and it should be simple answers. You need to stop killing people. Fact.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you also have to look at the nuances of the issue. Where did all of this really backtrack out of? This all backtracked out of the fact that the Ukraine was getting ready to push Russia out. Russia came in and really got to pulling the screws other places because they needed the world's attention somewhere else. Remember, there was the whole coup in Africa. There was this situation over in the Middle East. They needed help. They were on the ropes. They needed this situation to really distract this whole thing. And here we get to this moment. We need to put the money into the Ukraine. Netanyahu needs to go. There needs to be two nations, Palestine and Israel, both living viably side by side in that land. I strongly believe in a two-state solution and the need for there to be a Palestine and an Israel. We need to there needs to be a ceasefire that both sides can agree to, a returning of the hostages that both sides have, And we need to actually come to the table and negotiate and actually have peace, because this situation can't continue another 80 years.
Yeah, well said. And when we come forward, we will be getting into the weekly segment, What in the White Privilege, and also going to talk about the dual border visits from President Biden and Donald Trump, and how Republicans have shown their hypocrisy on the border issue to extraordinary levels when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
LADWP is proud to partner with KBLA to share with you how to start the new year without bill worries. We're here to help if you're behind on your bill or need help staying current. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to set predictable monthly payments throughout the year, including for past due amounts. You can also check out the special extended pay arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. If you're a senior or income qualified, you may be eligible for Easy Save to receive discounts and also qualify for free and discounted energy and water saving devices. You can get up to $15,000 for past due water and or sewer bills and up to $3,000 for electric bills. But you gotta act fast. Funding is limited. You can reduce your past due bills and kick off the year right, because here at LADWP, we're here to help. Visit ladwp.com/cares today and find out more.
Hello, my name is Rhonda Dixon. I'm running for Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge, Seat 39. I believe in the power of restorative justice, alternative sentencing, and equal access to justice. I was born and raised in South Los Angeles. Vote March 5th, 2024 for Rhonda Dixon, Seat 39. To find out more about me, go to www.rhondadixonforjudge.com. That's RONDADIXON, 4 judge.com. Paid for by Rhonda Dixon for Judge.
Do you support public education? More than 38,000 educators at United Teachers Los Angeles do too. Together, we have fought for a better public education for our students and communities, and having you on our side has been essential in our fight for better public schools. Together, we will continue to work for public schools with green spaces, more mental health staff, smaller class sizes at every grade level, and a higher investment in the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are UTLA, and you make us stronger.
Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
I started vaping my freshman year of high school, mostly because all my friends had vapes. I wanted to fit in with them and look cool and be a part of everything that they were doing. The hardest part about quitting for me was all my friends still hitting their vapes right next to me. It was really frustrating and confusing when I was trying to quit, because in my head I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, but for some reason my brain still wanted it.
No quit story is the same. For free support, text Kick Nicotine to 66819 today.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard here with you. And so is Christopher Walton, the former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County. And it is time for a segment we bring you every week called What in the White Privilege? Andy, who's at the door?
It's white.
Okay, so this week we are highlighting someone on X, stupid name, formerly Twitter, and this is a user by the name of @RedskinsArsenal. Okay, so first of all, you will notice the username, RedskinsArsenal, using the term Redskins, which after much debate and a long time and a long push, the Washington football team, formerly called the Redskins, is now called the Commanders because Redskins is a racist term. So, just off the bat, we know that this handle at Redskins Arsenal is problematic. And the reason I'm bringing Redskins Arsenal up today is because there's a linebacker for the Washington Commanders, the team who that person is presumably a fan of, even though he's still using their old name. And Washington linebacker Jamin Davis, he was issued a guilty plea in Loudoun County Circuit Court and was sentenced to 180 days jail time, with all of it suspended and his license suspended for 6 months, community service, and fined about $2,500. So this person at Redskins Arsenal said, quote, "Not surprised by this, but I don't want to hear about white privilege ever again. Athlete privilege is way bigger. If you have the cash, you can beat almost anything." So he tweeted that in response to the news that this Washington linebacker was he issued a guilty plea and he's not going to have to serve his jail time. He's going to do community service and you know, the other stuff. So this dude says athlete privilege is bigger than white privilege. Okay. We all know that celebrity culture is a thing. We all know that if you have money, you can do things that people who don't have money can't do. But with white privilege, you don't even need money. You don't need money. You don't need knowledge. You don't need connections. Just by the virtue of having the color skin that you have advantages. You have, and we talk about these advantages all the time. There's a high school student in named Daryl George in Texas who has missed most of the school year because of his hair. He has been suspended because of his hair. You have families who today are still not able to capitalize on the wealth they missed out when their mothers and fathers were discriminated against by redlining because they couldn't buy valuable property in certain neighborhoods. They were not allowed to. And those people are still alive today, and of course, so are their descendants. That's lost wealth that they missed out on because of the color of their skin. That's something that white people don't have to worry about. And so when we say white privilege, it is not an indictment on all white people. It's not saying that you're bad if you're white. It's saying that you have a privilege when you are born white that needs to be acknowledged. And when we all acknowledge it, then that's how we change it. But when you act like it doesn't exist, like people try to do for things that clearly do exist, when you act like it doesn't exist, then it doesn't get any better. So that's why we have this segment to highlight egregious examples of white privilege and sometimes people acting like it doesn't exist. And so for this person to say that because a person was arrested for a DUI, a black athlete was arrested for a DUI and didn't have to go to jail because of it, he pleaded guilty, and usually when you plead guilty, you get a lower sentence. That's how that works. The court system loves when people admit guilt. And so, because this black linebacker for the Washington Commanders, not the Washington Redskins, when he didn't have to serve jail time because of his DUI, this white person said, just because this happened, white privilege doesn't exist, athlete privilege is way bigger. And that's why this weird Twitter handle, X handle, stupid name, whatever you want to call that stupid site, that's why this person, Redskins Arsenal, is the subject of this week's What in the White Privilege.
It's white!
All right, so, Chris, let's wrap up the hour by talking about this border visit. Donald Trump went down to the border in Texas, about 300 miles away. Joe Biden also went down to the border in Texas the same day. And Joe Biden really had some remarkable comments. He was saying, and I've been wanting him and all Democrats to go hard at Republicans for this, because it's after all of the whining about the border and saying, oh, the Democrats don't care about the border, and we, in order to give Ukraine aid, we want you to work with us on the border. Democrats said, okay, we'll work with you on the border. And then Republicans said, actually, no, we don't want to do that, because Donald Trump said, don't pass anything on the border that will make the situation better because I want to run on this issue. I want this issue to hurt Joe Biden. I don't care if it gets any better. So Joe Biden said, hey, I'm calling on Donald Trump. Hey, join me in telling Congress to pass this. If you say you care about this, join me in calling on Congress to pass the border legislation. It'll hire more Border Patrol agents so they don't have to work overtime. It'll help the issue. And so what do you think, Chris, about Joe Biden's trip down there and his comments specifically calling Donald Trump out on this?
I'm glad he did. I'm very glad he did. And also it should make it very clear for the American people who stands where. The ball is in Donald Trump's court. Since he wanted to pull the bill, he didn't want the bill to pass. Fine. Come help me. I'll give you half the credit for it. Come help us, since this is such a big issue as you say it is, when we know time and time again the Republicans have been proven that, no, this is not the actual issue they care about. They just love bringing it up every single election. You notice there has to be a caravan on the way sometime soon. You know, only caravans only come around during the election. They have constantly badgered this issue and made it the issue that it is. Now, at one point, there was there were quote unquote sane Republicans who actually wanted to get legislation passed. They wanted to actually pass immigration bills. I remember John McCain nearly lost the nomination back in 2008 because he tried to pass the immigration bill under the Bush administration, which President George W. Bush was actually in favor of trying to get something passed. This shows you how far down the ladder to hell they've fallen since then. But, you know, we've had options to pass good pieces of legislation. We could have passed the DREAM Act. We could have actually done a citizenship piece of legislation. We could have upgraded our immigration laws time and again. But Republicans always campaign on it being an issue, but when it comes down to the time to put a pen to a piece of paper, they're nowhere to be found. We actually have one person who came forward and tried to actually get legislation passed, and they pillowed him. They completely have threatened this man so that he voted against his own bill. Like, what do you negotiated this bill, you voted against this bill. How does make it make sense?
It makes zero sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And we need to keep on hitting them on this issue every day. And so I'm going to continue to do just that, and I know you will too. Christopher Walton, former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County, thank you so much for joining us. Where can we keep up with you online?
Please keep up with me online at Chris Walton MKE on Twitter. I'm not calling it that. It's on Twitter. Please feel free to follow me and follow me this weekend because I'm going to be down here celebrating the 59th anniversary of the March on Selma.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you and the work you do, and always a pleasure to have your perspective. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon. When we come forward, we're going to be talking to Mark Morial, former mayor of New Orleans and the current president and CEO of the National Urban League, about the State of Black America report that was released today. Also, later in the hour, we'll be talking to KBLA sports reporter Ray Richardson when we come forward after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The murder trial of Chicago, Illinois police officer Ella French continues today. More body cam footage was shown in court yesterday, which the trial is in its third day of testimony. The jerky video showed the police car ride taken by wounded officer Carlos Yanez to the hospital. The jury also heard evidence technicians and other officers discussing the weapon